Hey guys, a new day, a new video. So we have seen rendering list in a previous video, but in this video we are going to see keys and why keys are important. When should we use keys and when should we avoid using keys? So these are the topics that we are going to see in this video. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. Our previous video ended on we rendered a list, and in that list we it was a simple list. We had some fruits name with name and color as an object. It was an array of object, and we just tried to render it using fruits.map fruit. We passed two parameters, that was fruit and index. We can also pass, as we are not using index, we can just pass as fruit, and while we are just rendering fruit.name and fruit.color. To see the output, we just have to go to our page and just do a refresh. Here we had like apple red, pear green, mango yellow. So this was the example that we saw in our previous video. We are going to continue with the same thing. Basically this part I'll be dividing it into two parts. So that would be like we'll be seeing rendering list with key, and the second one would be why key as an index is very important. Okay, why we should not, basically what we should do with keys, what we should not do with keys. So these are the things that we will be basically bifurcating it into two videos. These are very important because we just start writing the code, but we don't know what implications it happens, and definitely you're going to have this issue in the future regarding the performance, that why using index as a key would be bad for you. So before diving deep into it, let's go with a simple basic example and the warning that we are seeing right now on the screen. That is, each child in a list should have a unique key property. So this is very important error that React throws, and as you can see, it says unique key. So the key that we are passing should be unique. So how to use this key, why we should use this key, let's go ahead and say this. So we are having a map, fruits.map, and we are just trying to render it. We can add it as return. I'll just remove this return. It's an additional statement that we are trying to add. This will again work in the same way. There is nothing different. It is still going to throw you the same error, unique key. So how should we add and where should we add this key? Let's say that I add another div inside my h1, and if I try to add this key over here, let's say that I add just something like this fruit.name. As fruit.name, our name is unique in all of these objects. So it is going to iterate this name is unique, this name is unique, and this the name is unique. So in all of my array, the name itself is unique. So it is not going to throw an error, but if you just see the error, it is still giving me the same error. Even though we are using the key somewhere in the list, it is giving me the same error. The main concept over here is whenever you are trying to iterate an array, loop over an array, the first parent child should have the key. So this will never work. I just need to let's say that even though you have a div or anything, but the key should always go to the first parent, that is your h1. Nothing changed. It's just I moved the key from div to my h1. So this is the first rule that you should follow, and just refresh and you can see the error that you are having is gone. So why do we need a key here? Okay, why React throws a warning stating that you need to have a unique key, okay, just to display the list? Why is this one single statement is very important? Because let's say that due to this property, due to this attribute key, React keeps a track of all the iterating elements. Okay, I'll just explain it once again. Because of this attribute, single key attribute, React tends to keep a track of all the iterating elements into this list. So I'll just make this, I'll just remove this div. We don't need this. Let us make it a bit more clean. So this was the first thing that we have to understand with key. The second thing that we need to understand, that even though we have added a key attribute to h1, if you just go to the elements and you try to inspect it, you will not see any key attribute that is rendered here. So this is the other thing that you need to know, that even though you are adding a key property, it will not be rendered onto the DOM. Yes, because that is just for the sake of React to keep a track, and it doesn't render on the DOM because you should not basically use it or make any other changes. So it's always better. React thought that we should not keep it in the DOM and it removed it. So it's just React who keeps the track of these list elements. So this was the second thing that you should always be aware of, why we are using key. The third and another important point in rendering this list with key is that you cannot pass this key as a property to any child element. So let's say that I just create one other simple under pages. I'll just say child component .js. It's a simple child component, const child component equal to your properties. We have done this before. Return, let's say that I just print something like hello world, just to see that my child component is rendering. Export default and child component. So if you're feeling that this is too fast, how we created this, just make the playback speed slower and see how we are creating this component. And let's render this child component into our original parent component, so that I'll just, with each fruit, instead of this, I'll try to remove these fruits and just render my child component. So I'm rendering the child component within the loop itself. You can see the fruits is completing over here. Even though I am trying to rendering it here, it's a self-closing tag. There is no error. I'll just delete this. That's the reason it's just throwing an error, due to the fragments. So here I'm rendering it into a loop. The number of elements that I have into my fruits are 3. So my child component would be rendered thrice. Let's go and see. So as you're seeing that hello world has been rendered thrice, and this is my child component. You can see hello world, and hello world. Yes, but still I'm getting this unique key property as an error. So I can again pass this key property to my child component, which is going to remove. So what is the unique thing? I have again name or color, both are unique. So I can just say name. This is going to remove the error from my console. So that is going to remove, but again my hello world again is into the child component. We are passing this key as a property to my child component. The issue over here is you cannot, if I try to print this key, even though I am passing key as a property, you'll not be able to use it anywhere. So see, I just say key property. Oops. Refresh, and you can see child component key is not a property. Even though you are passing it as a property key, but still you are going to get that error because it is not going to pass the key as a property. This is the only property that is not right now. We are not passing it as a property, and the child components are not accepting that attribute as a property. So this is another important note. Even though if you try to pass it, that's not going to happen. So this is the way we use key as a very important factor. So we have seen 3 things. Okay, the first point that we saw was we can just add a key to the parent node of that particular into the map. Whenever we are trying to add a map, it just should always go to the parent node, not the child nodes. I'm talking about the nodes like this, not the components. Yeah, the second point that we saw was that even though we are trying to we are adding the key property as an attribute to any element, the key property will not be there into your DOM. And the last thing that we saw right now was even though we are passing it as a property to any child component, it will not be considered by the child component as a prop. These are the three things while working on a list and working on a key into a list you should be aware of. There is one more thing, that as we saw, that key is the key thing should be unique, right? Whatever we are passing, that should be unique. So let's say this is a dynamic list and tomorrow somewhere or the other way I just add another name. So now my name is not unique. So we added another key to this list, the name property. Now I have two elements into this array which have the same name, that is apple. Now if you see, it will start throwing again a warning that the React have encountered two children with the same key, and it is also going to show you which key is basically getting repeated. So my apple is getting repeated, which is not right, and that's the reason it is throwing an warning. So how to remove this warning? Either you make it as a unique property, or the second property that we have, that was our index. Okay, I can also pass index to the key. This is going to work because what is an index? It is like every node. So this is the 0th position, this is on the first position, second position and third position into an array. So index will have that particular positions. Now when I'm trying to pass this index, if you even want to print and see what is exactly the index values, we'll also print the values. So every time every time the index property would be unique. So when we are trying to render it, it will never throw the error again. See, for all the list, it is going to be a unique index value. I hope till here you were able to understand why we are trying to add key. To make it more easy for you, let's take this example. Okay, here you are saying right now that I have a simple UL and it has two LIs. The first one is apple and the second one is mango. The two elements have been rendered into this UL. Now I'm trying to add another one. So let's say that I add a pair as a third element into this UL, and I'm adding it as LI at the end of the list. So I'm just adding it dynamically into my list. It will not disturb the existing two elements. So it is just doing a shallow comparison. It's just doing a simple comparison that the first part is apple. The first element here is also an apple. It just simply compares it. Nothing is changed. It leaves it. The second one is mango. Here also it is the new list that you have is also having a mango. Nothing is changed. It leaves it. It comes to the third one. Previously there was no pair, but right now it has a pair as a new li. It will just simply add it to the list. Till here everything would be perfect. Okay, but what will happen, let's say if I add this pair to the beginning. So if the same pair is added at the beginning of the whole comparison thing, okay, the comparison fails. Okay, and the list will be re-rendered completely. So even though in our previous example when we didn't have any key, it was not re-rendering the whole list because something was added just at the end of the list. But when we are trying to dynamically add something at the beginning of the list, okay, nothing is going to be compared. See, this is the example that I'm trying to show, that the first one here is apple, but right now as you added the first node as pair, it did a comparison, okay, but failed. Why? Because it starts comparing apple with pear, even though the second one is apple. This thing will fail and the whole list will be re-rendered. So this is a performance issue, and here the key comes as a savior for you. How we can say this? Let's say take this example. I'm just adding a simple keys to the same list, apple and mango, and I'm adding pear at the very beginning of my list. It will do a comparison according to the keys. Now it will also check the values, but it will also have that key as a secondary comparison. It is checking the keys, apple and apple is there, it will just do a comparison, nothing is changed. Mango and mango is there, nothing is changed. But pear comes at the very top, it is having a new key which will not, so the React will not re-render the whole list, but it will just simply add the pair at the very beginning. And now the list won't be re-rendered as React will have a track of each and every element. This is the way keys play a very important or very vital role into the list. Right now we are just seeing a very basic example of where we just have like 3 to 4, 4 to 5 different values into our list. But in real life examples, you'll be having like thousands and thousands of rows. So think it like that if you're just adding it, if you're not using keys, or if you're just not applying proper structure to your list, the whole thing is going to re-render from time to time, and which is going to make a performance implication if you don't proper standard practices. I hope this was pretty clear. I wanted to make it short, but this explanation got a bit bigger, but I hope that was worth the time. You have to understand this, so that even though you can start with good practices, your performance will also be improved side by side. Hope this was easy for you to understand. If there are any inputs, please do let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.